My name is Violet. Sitting on the porch of my townhouse on a Thursday evening, watching the sunset with my daughter Lily, I'm reminded of the Thanksgiving dinner that changed everything. It was a night when the truth finally shattered the facade my family had maintained for so long. At that dinner, there were 14 guests around the table. The best china was set out, and candles were lit to create an illusion of a perfect family. My father, Henry, stood at the head of the table, glass in hand, ready to give thanks. He first praised my older sister, Sophia, a successful surgeon. "One daughter is a doctor," he said. Then he turned to me and, with a laugh, added, "The other one is a maid." Everyone laughed, except for a few, including my 8-year-old daughter, Lily, who sat beside me. She tugged at my sleeve and whispered, "Mommy, is being a maid bad?" That question was the breaking point. Something inside me that had been suppressed for years finally snapped. I set my napkin on the table, stood up, and began to speak. "Lily, being a maid is not bad. Any honest work is good work. But since Grandpa brought it up, let me tell you what Mommy actually does." To understand how this moment came to be, I need to take you back 6 years. I was going through a divorce, leaving me with nothing but 2 suitcases and a 2-year-old daughter, Lily. My ex-husband, Jake, left me in a financial mess, cleaning out our accounts and leaving me alone. I drove from the city to my parents' small town, a journey that usually takes 2 hours but was stretched due to Lily's cries. When I arrived at my parents' house, my father, Henry, opened the door. He looked at me and Lily with cold eyes and said the old cottage in the back was empty, but it was only temporary. There was no warmth, no hug, just a business-like agreement. That cottage became our home, though it was a tiny 300-square-foot place with a temperamental shower. I quickly started cleaning houses for $15 an hour, while a neighbor watched Lily. Meanwhile, my sister, Sophia, was finishing her surgical residency. My parents threw a big dinner for her, and when I showed up late from work, my father made a snide comment about me scrubbing bathtubs. Everyone laughed, and I stayed silent. This was not a new pattern. Growing up, Sophia was always the golden child. She got the best tutors, went to exclusive summer camps, and was sent to Ivy League schools. When she got into medical school, my father took out a second mortgage to pay for it. When it was my turn, he told me community college was good enough for someone like me. I went to the local community college, paying for it myself through odd jobs. I graduated with honors, but no one came to my ceremony. Every holiday, my father introduced Sophia as the successful doctor, and I was just an afterthought. My mother, Amelia, always downplayed the situation, saying my father just wanted the best for us. What they didn't know was that Sophia was carrying a huge debt from medical school, even though everyone saw her as the shining star. In the second year back in town, I noticed a gap in the market for vacation estate management. I started a company called Azure Estate Services. It was just me and a used laptop at first, but I signed my first few contracts. I was excited to tell my mother, but she was more interested in Sophia's latest achievement. That same year, I received a call from my aunt, Iris. She was a black sheep in the family because she divorced her husband years ago. But she'd heard about my company through a mutual client and decided to invest $15,000 in it. She told me that family should be a safe place, not a cage. With her investment, I hired some part-time employees and started to run the company more professionally. 2 years later, when I had built a decent business with a few employees and multiple contracts, my father started to stir things up again. At a Sunday dinner, he casually mentioned that the land where my cottage was located might be rearranged. Later that night, my mother called to say that a developer had come to look at the property. I started looking for a new place to live near Lily's school, but the housing market was tight, and the available options were expensive. My parents found out about my search and threatened to cut off all support if I took Lily away. I knew leaving at that time would damage my business reputation in this small town, so I decided to stay. But then, Lily started to show signs of distress. Her teacher told me that she was quiet at lunch when the other kids asked what her mom did for work. Around that same time, I got an opportunity for a big contract with a luxury development. I pitched to the developer, Mr. Thompson, and after some back and forth, I landed the deal. Azure Estate Services started to grow rapidly, but my family still saw me as the house cleaner. A few months before Thanksgiving, a journalist called me for a feature in the local business journal. I agreed on the condition that they wouldn't mention my family. The article was set to be published during Thanksgiving week. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, my father announced that Mr. Thompson, the developer, was coming to dinner. He was trying to sell the land where my cottage was to Mr. Thompson. I was shocked because Mr. Thompson had no idea that I was the daughter of the man he was doing business with, and my father had no clue about the scale of my company. The Monday before Thanksgiving, my father called me to his study and asked me to sign a move-out agreement by Thanksgiving. I found out that Mr. Thompson was the buyer, and my father had told him the cottage was empty. I refused to sign and walked out. On Thanksgiving morning, I woke up, dressed Lily in her favorite dress, and went to my parents' house to cook the turkey, as I did every year. Guests started to arrive, including Mr. Thompson and his wife. Dinner began, and my father made that fateful toast, demeaning me in front of everyone. After Lily's question, I decided to take a stand. I told everyone about Azure Estate Services, how I managed multiple luxury properties, and that my revenue last year was over $2 million. Everyone at the table was stunned. Mr. Thompson recognized me and was shocked that my father had not told him about my business. Just then, my aunt, Iris, showed up unannounced with the business journal that had the feature on me. The truth was laid bare, and my father's carefully constructed image began to crumble. Mr. Thompson decided to pause the land deal, and the guests started to leave one by one. In the aftermath, my family's reputation in the town took a hit. My father lost respect, and my mother's social group distanced themselves from her. My sister, Sophia, also reached out to me. She was going through a divorce and finally realized how her parents had treated me unfairly. I moved out of the cottage and into a townhouse with Lily. Our relationship with my family changed. My father called me a few weeks later, asking if we could move past what happened. But I told him that I wouldn't sit at a table where my daughter learned to be ashamed of me. Since then, my business has continued to grow. I've hired more employees, and new contracts have come my way. Sophia and I have started to develop a real relationship, sharing our struggles and supporting each other. I keep the letter from my father, the one that simply said, "Violet, I read the article," on my kitchen table. It's a small step, but I've learned that I don't need his approval to be proud of who I am and what I've built. Lily and I are living a happy, free life, and that's what truly matters.